2004, in Korea, a 14-year-old female student was gang-raped by 44 male high school students for a year. Not stopping there, these predators forced her to deceive her younger sister and cousin to satisfy their desires. When the incident was uncovered, it seemed that they would face severe punishment. However, the school, a place that should have been safe, turned its back on her, pushing her further into darkness. Law enforcement agencies compounded the harm by blaming the victim. 2 decades later, a case thought to be buried was suddenly brought to light by a mysterious YouTuber, exposing horrifying truths that enraged society. You are watching a true story. Let's uncover dark secrets and thrilling details you've never heard before. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to explore today's story. Miryang, where the incident occurred, is a small city in Gyeongsangnam Province, South Korea. The city develops slowly, blending tradition with modernity. Small winding roads lead to schools shaded by green trees. However, behind its peaceful appearance, a darkness silently creeps in, concealing cruel acts that no one could have imagined. The victim in this story, Choi, a 14-year-old girl, grew up in a poor family. Her father was an alcoholic and unemployed, while her mother was the breadwinner of the household. Because of this, arguments at home happened frequently. Her father even brutally beat her mother and siblings. By January 2003, unable to endure it any longer, Choi's mother decided to divorce and leave their home in Ulsan, abandoning Choi and her 2 younger siblings under the control of their abusive father. Without her mother, every time her father came home drunk, Choi became his main target. The insults and continuous violence turned her life into a nightmare. Unable to confide in anyone, Choi sought solace through online conversations. That's when she met Kim, an 18-year-old male student from Miriam, about an hour from Ulsan. They met by chance when Choi accidentally dialed the wrong number while calling a friend, and Kim answered. From there, they occasionally chatted. Kim appeared very friendly and cleverly persuaded Choi to visit Miriam. Unaware of Kim's true identity, Choi agreed without much concern. In reality, Kim was a member of the Miryang Alliance, a notorious group known for bullying and extorting money from classmates. Choi had no idea of the danger awaiting her. When Choi arrived in Miryang, Kim introduced her to Park, the group's leader. From the first meeting, the atmosphere turned tense as Park demanded money from Choi. When Choi said she didn't have any money, Park, without hesitation, used a metal pipe to beat her unconscious. At the time, many group members witnessed the scene but didn't intervene, as they were too accustomed to such acts. When Choi regained consciousness, she found herself in a hotel room surrounded by Park and 12 other group members. Terrified and panicked, Choi tried to run to the door but was stopped. Park ordered the group to lock the door, blocking all exits. The group then attacked her, tearing off her clothes and taking turns sexually assaulting her. Not stopping there, they used other objects in the room to intensify the torture, causing severe injuries to Choi. These barbaric acts not only left physical scars but also caused significant long-term health issues for Choi, particularly severe gynecological problems. Park ordered the entire incident to be recorded on mobile phones and cameras, ensuring there was enough evidence to blackmail Choi into silence. "If you dare to speak up, this video will be spread everywhere," Park said with a sinister smile, delivering a threat that left Choi frozen in fear. Choi felt so ashamed and humiliated that she couldn't tell anyone, not even her family. The fear of having her reputation destroyed forced her into silence. When one girl was no longer enough to satisfy them, these monsters began to have even more depraved thoughts. Park demanded that Choi bring her 13-year-old younger sister and 16-year-old cousin to Miryang. If she refused, the video would be released online. In fear and desperation, Choi was forced to comply. She led her 2 closest loved ones to a place she knew was full of danger. In Miryang, all 3 girls became victims. The group continued their assaults and also stole all their money and jewelry. Choi, despite her pain and despair, didn't dare to reveal the truth to anyone. She feared that speaking out would ruin not only her life but her family's as well. Her younger sister and cousin felt the same. Overwhelmed by fear, they endured the suffering in silence. A year passed, but Choi's pain didn't fade. She became withdrawn, frequently startled, and displayed unusual psychological symptoms that worried her family. Choi's aunt, who had been observing her, realized something was wrong. She decided to approach her niece to uncover the truth. "Is there something you're hiding from me? Please tell me, and I will help you." Her aunt gently comforted and encouraged Choi to open up. At this moment, Choi broke down and recounted the horrifying ordeal she and her loved ones had endured. The aunt was shocked by the revelation. She immediately called Choi's mother. Choi's mother returned quickly, unable to believe that her daughter had endured such unbearable pain for an entire year without anyone knowing. After hearing the entire story, Choi's mother decided to bring the case to light. Despite her fears, she couldn't let this crime remain buried. On November 25, 2004, Choi's mother, with all her courage, called the police to report the incident. She demanded strict protection of her daughter's identity. The police also promised a confidential investigation and the protection of the victim's identity. However, this promise was quickly broken. On December 6, 2004, based on the information Choi provided, the police conducted a major public operation announcing that 44 suspects had been brought to the Namdong police station in Ulsan. Among the 44 arrested, 35 were high school students from Miryang. What should have been a confidential investigation now became the center of public attention. During the investigation, a report containing the victim's name, age, and address was leaked. This caused Choi and her family to fall into panic. The police had promised to assign a female officer to interview the victim to minimize psychological trauma. Instead, Choi was confronted by a male officer. During the first interview, the officer was not only unprofessional, but also insulted Choi with cruel questions. "Didn't you enjoy it? Or did you willingly go to them? You've ruined the reputation of my hometown, Miryang. What do you plan to do about my life and the people here?" These remarks left Choi feeling more humiliated and terrified than ever. Furthermore, the police required Choi to face each of the 44 suspects directly. Each time, she had to recount the details of what had happened. In total, Choi was summoned over 30 times for the investigation. Each interrogation lasted 7 to 8 hours, exhausting her both physically and mentally. The injustice and inhumane treatment by the police enraged women's and civil rights organizations in South Korea, leading to protests and demands for immediate action. Public scrutiny intensified, focusing on how the police failed to protect the victim and instead subjected her to further severe psychological trauma. Public outrage peaked, forcing the police to disband the initial investigative team of 4 officers directly handling the case and 4 others involved during the process. A new investigative team with female officers was formed to minimize the victim's psychological trauma and restore public trust. Under growing public pressure, the prosecution established a special investigation unit to ensure transparency and objectivity in the case. A reporter from MBC, who was the first to cover the case, revealed that shortly after the incident, a promotion review for the officers involved had taken place, fueling further public anger. 8 officers disciplined earlier for investigative misconduct were reinstated within a year, exacerbating societal frustration. During this time, Choi and her family received threats from the suspects and their parents. "If you ruin our son's life, you won't live in peace," one parent directly told Choi's mother, intensifying her fears for her family's safety. At Choi's school, the case became a hot topic of gossip. However, instead of protection, Choi was scolded by some teachers, who accused her of bringing disgrace to the school. Some teachers even implied that Choi was to blame for the incident, further damaging her self-esteem. The identities of Choi and her younger sister were leaked, forcing the family to move elsewhere. In January 2005, Choi, her sister, and their mother relocated to Seoul to start anew. In Seoul, Choi and her sister were admitted to John Severance Hospital for treatment. Doctors revealed that Choi's condition was severe. She suffered from both physical and psychological trauma, with dangerous complications resulting from prolonged abuse and neglect. During therapy sessions, Choi often cried. Alone with her therapist, she shared feelings of abandonment by her mother and the torment she endured from her abusers, seeking empathy. After a month of treatment, Choi was discharged, but her depression and extreme thoughts persisted. She attempted suicide several times by jumping in front of subway trains, but was rescued in time. Concerned by Choi's dangerous behavior, her family decided to readmit her to the hospital for continued psychiatric care. During this time, Choi's father and relatives of the suspects visited her, proposing reconciliation. It was revealed that Choi's father, an alcoholic, had agreed to a settlement, accepting 50 million won in compensation from the suspects' families. However, the compensation money was not used to support Choi and her sister. Instead, most of it was spent by her father on building a private home and distributing it to relatives. The settlement also resulted in significant sentence reductions for the perpetrators. Out of 44 suspects, only 10 were prosecuted, 20 were sent to juvenile detention, and 13 were released. After the settlement, Choi's father transferred custody of her and her sister back to their mother. The two sisters lived with their mother in a small rented room in Seoul, relying on social assistance. Meanwhile, Choi's younger brother continued to live with their father in Ulsan. Not long after, Choi's father passed away due to alcohol abuse, while Choi and her mother continued their fight for justice. They filed a lawsuit against the police, demanding compensation for severe investigative misconduct. On March 18, 2007, after persistent efforts by Choi's family, the Seoul High Court ordered the government to compensate the victim and her family. According to the ruling, Choi and her sister received 30 million won, while their mother was awarded 10 million won. On June 16, 2008, the South Korean Supreme Court upheld the ruling, concluding the financial compensation aspect of the prolonged case. By April 2005, Choi and her mother began searching for a new high school for her to continue her education, but every school refused to accept her. After legal intervention, a public high school in Seoul finally agreed to admit Choi, but challenges arose almost immediately. One day, the mother of one of the perpetrators came to Choi's new school, requesting the school and parents to sign a petition for her son's sentence to be reduced. Unable to endure the harassment, Choi was forced to drop out, once again giving up hope for a normal future. Choi's lawyer shared that after leaving school, she fell into a deep depression. She spent most of her time on the computer and worked short-term part-time jobs. Choi also struggled with weight gain due to stress-induced overeating, leading to frequent job changes and a constant sense of instability. Meanwhile, among the perpetrators, only 10 out of 44 were prosecuted and sent to juvenile detention, while 34 escaped criminal charges thanks to the settlement. Of the 34 not prosecuted, 20 were sent to juvenile correctional facilities but had no criminal records. Another member of the group was transferred to a different police jurisdiction due to involvement in an unrelated case, but faced no responsibility for Choi's case. In April 2005, the Ulsan People's Court ruled that all 10 prosecuted individuals be sent to juvenile detention, officially concluding the legal penalties. Prosecutors argued that the assaults and threats were not severe enough to qualify as coercion, and that there was insufficient evidence to pursue criminal charges against the perpetrators. This outcome closed the case in frustration for Choi's family and the public, as the cruel offenders left no legal records behind. The case ended with the conclusion that justice had been served, but societal anger over the injustice in the legal system remained unresolved. 20 years after the case, on June 1, 2024, a mysterious YouTuber shocked the public by uploading a video revealing the identities of some perpetrators and suspects in the Miriam case. The videos garnered millions of views, with the YouTuber accusing Kim, the mastermind, of escaping punishment while leading a fulfilled life with a successful career and a happy family. Kim and his accomplices remained in contact and even met regularly as though nothing had happened. After their identities were exposed, Kim and several other suspects were fired from their jobs and faced harsh criticism from the online community. The public could not forgive the perpetrators, condemning them for living comfortably while the victim suffered without receiving the justice she deserved. The YouTuber's videos sparked a heated debate over personal punishment measures, with increasing numbers of internet users joining in to expose the identities of the perpetrators. By June 11, 2024, police received 3 complaints and 13 defamation petitions, not only from the suspects, but also from individuals mistakenly identified. While some YouTubers claimed Choi's family approved the exposure of the perpetrators' identities, the Korean Sexual Violence Relief Center opposed these actions. The center stated, "The unauthorized disclosure of the perpetrators' identities causes further harm to the victim. This does not bring justice, but only creates additional conflict." On June 21, 2024, one of the suspects sent a handwritten letter to the mysterious YouTuber, writing, "20 years ago, out of ignorance and foolishness, I committed an unforgivable crime." This apology immediately triggered another wave of debate, with many criticizing that such belated remorse could never compensate for the victim's suffering. The case continued to be a hot topic on social media, with many calling for the case to be reopened and the responsibilities of each individual to be clarified in court. This concludes the video. Thank you for following this compelling story. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to catch more fascinating stories. In September 2011, at Mount Bukhansan, South Korea, police discovered the body of a man. His body bore dozens of stab wounds, his skull was crushed, and blood was splattered all over the scene. 3 kilometers away, the victim's cousin was also found dead, hanging from a tree. A large, peculiar scarf covered his shoulders. Both were relatives of a leading presidential candidate at the time. As investigators delved into the case, they found that several key witnesses had suddenly died. What secrets lie hidden in the double murder case on Mount Bukhansan? Who is pulling the strings behind the scenes, obstructing the truth from being revealed? You are following a true story. Let's uncover the dark secrets and thrilling details you've never heard before. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to explore today's story. On September 6, 2011, following a report, police discovered the body of a man at a parking lot near Mount Bukhansan. His body was covered in deep wounds. The victim was identified as 55-year-old Park Yong-chol. He had suffered dozens of stab wounds to his abdomen and chest. In addition to stab wounds, his skull was severely dented, evidently caused by a blunt object. The injuries displayed clear intent and aggression from the perpetrator. A toxicology report revealed a significant amount of sleeping pills in Park Yong-chol's blood, suggesting he was likely unconscious during the murder. 60 meters from the scene, police found a large blood-stained knife, indicating the suspect might have escaped through the forest. Later that afternoon, 3 kilometers from the first scene, another body was discovered along a mountain trail near Yonggamun Gate. The man was found hanging. The second victim was identified as Park Yong-soo, a cousin of Park Yong-chol. The unusual placement of a white scarf on his shoulders raised suspicion. There were no signs of a struggle, but scratches on the neck, hands, and knees suggested Park Yong-soo might have resisted before his death. An autopsy revealed a laxative pill intact in Park Yong-soo's stomach and a high concentration of sleeping pills in his blood, unusual for a typical suicide case. The sleeping pills matched those found in Park Yong-chol's system. This connection raised suspicions about the 2 cases being linked. Further investigation revealed more ties between the incidents. The first victim, Park Yong-chol, was not an ordinary man. He was a 5th cousin of Park Geun-hye, a prominent presidential candidate at the time. This connection immediately complicated the case. Park Yong-chol had previously served as a bodyguard for Park Geun-hye during her earlier campaigns. His close ties to the Park family led to speculation that he might have known sensitive secrets about them. The second victim, Park Yong-soo, found hanging 3 kilometers away, was also a cousin of the first victim. The 2 cousins were known to have been close, but unofficial sources revealed they recently had heated disputes over an unpaid loan of 100 million won owed to Park Yong-soo. Both cousins were directly involved in internal conflicts surrounding the Yuk-young Foundation. The foundation was established to honor Yuk-young-soo, the late wife of former President Park Chung-hee, after her assassination in 1974. Its primary purpose was to carry out charitable activities supporting education, culture, and community development, focusing on children and youth. Additionally, an insider close to Park Yong-chol disclosed that he possessed critical documents related to the Yukyeong Foundation. These documents were believed to have the potential to severely damage the Park family's image, especially during Park Geun-hye's sensitive presidential campaign. Another suspicious detail emerged. Before his death, Park Yong-chol had received anonymous threats. Surveillance footage revealed that he met with Park Yong-soo a day before the murder at a small restaurant near the crime scene. The two had a heated argument that nearly escalated into a physical altercation before being separated by restaurant staff. With the current evidence, police could not dismiss the possibility that the case resulted from personal betrayal. Did Park Yong-soo, under financial pressure, murder Park Yong-chol before committing suicide? Or was there a third force manipulating the entire scenario? To verify this theory, police expected to find Park Yong-soo's fingerprints on the knife suspected to be the murder weapon, but no fingerprints were found. Even traces of Park Yong-chol's blood were absent from the knife near Park Yong-soo's body. Additionally, the large amount of sleeping pills found in both victims' systems complicated the case. Tests revealed it was a strong prescription-only drug, not easily obtainable without a doctor's approval. Who provided this drug, and why did both victims consume it simultaneously? For now, the police investigation was hitting a dead end, with no significant breakthrough to clarify the deaths of the two victims. All the evidence remained speculative. Refusing to give up, investigators broadened their focus to include acquaintances of the victims and witnesses who had interacted with them near the time of the incident. At this point, a new challenge arose. A key witness, the last person to see Park Yong-chol alive, suddenly died of a heart attack just days after giving testimony. This left the investigation team without critical information and raised suspicions of organized cover-ups. Surveillance footage from the areas near the crime scene was unrecoverable. An investigative technician admitted that files related to the case had been erased right before being handed over to the team. This was undoubtedly suspicious. The Park family, directly linked to both victims, was seen as exerting pressure on the investigators. Some police officers hinted they had received unofficial directives from higher-ups to close the case quickly. When a journalist attempted to delve deeply into the case, they received anonymous threats via phone calls, and their home was broken into by unidentified individuals. Additionally, a critical document in the investigation, including forensic reports and crime scene analyses, mysteriously went missing during transportation. These details further fueled public suspicion that the case was being covered up by political forces. The deeper investigators dug, the more they felt surrounded by a series of unusual events. Missing witnesses, deleted data, and political pressure made the case more complex and perilous than ever. Around this time, media sources revealed that the Yukyeong Foundation was not merely a charity, but also a site of numerous shady financial transactions. Park Yong-chol, a close associate of Park Ji-man, Park Geun-hye's younger brother, was said to hold explosive secrets. Independent investigations by the media uncovered that before his death, Park Yong-chol had expressed fears for his safety. He had confided in a close friend, saying, "I'm holding a ticking time bomb. If it goes off, many people won't escape its fallout." The investigative team found that Park Yong-chol had actively participated in violent disputes within the Yukyeong Foundation under the guise of protecting the foundation's interests. However, some believed he acted beyond control, making the foundation's leadership view him as a threat. A criminologist involved in the case suggested it could be a contract killing. He noted the professional manner of the crime. The precision of Park Yong-chol's wounds indicated the perpetrator was not only strong, but also highly trained. The Park family also faced suspicions when an anonymous source revealed that internal conflicts within the Yukyeong Foundation were directly tied to control over the organization's massive assets. In his role as a powerful intermediary, Park Yong-chol was believed to know too much and posed a potential risk of exposing sensitive secrets. An anonymous witness gave shocking testimony, claiming that Park Yong-chol had been under surveillance before his death. He knew he was being watched, but could do nothing except await a brutal strike, the witness stated. Internal conflicts within the Park family, especially between Park Ji-man and Park Jun-young, became a focal point. Park Yong-chol was said to have sided with Park Ji-man in disputes over control of the Yukyeong Foundation, but this made him a threat to other family members. Although police compiled a list of potential suspects, including those who had clashed with Park Yong-chol at the Yukyeong Foundation, none were arrested. It appeared that this action was merely for show, aimed at appeasing public outrage. After all the difficulties and unverified information from the media, the police quickly presented a preliminary conclusion. The case was a murder-suicide. According to them, Park Yong-soo murdered his cousin, Park Yong-chol, in a fit of anger over financial disputes before taking his own life to escape guilt. Investigators claim that the conflict between the cousins stemmed from a 100 million won loan that Park Yong-chol had borrowed but failed to repay. This hypothesis was based on testimony from an acquaintance who had heard Park Yong-soo complain about being abandoned after providing financial assistance. Police asserted that Park Yong-soo had meticulously planned the crime. He was alleged to have purchased the knife and rope days before the incident. At this point, the police revealed a suicide note found at Park Yong-soo's home. The brief yet emotional note requested his family cremate him and scatter his ashes at sea after his death. However, many argued that the tone of the note didn't match Park Yong-soo's personality, described as quiet and straightforward. Police further cited that on the night of the crime, Park Yong-soo hadn't consumed alcohol, while Park Yong-chol was found to have a high blood alcohol level. They speculated that Park Yong-soo took advantage of his cousin's drunken state to commit the crime. However, this contradicted earlier reports of a large dose of sedatives found in the victim's bloodstream. Some internal investigators expressed doubts about this conclusion. They pointed out that the injuries on Park Yong-chol's body, dozens of stab wounds and a crushed skull, required a strong and experienced assailant, which did not match Park Yong-soo's profile. Forensic experts also found no fingerprints or DNA from Park Yong-soo on the murder weapon. This raised questions. How could Park Yong-soo commit the crime without leaving any trace? This led to further suspicion. Was a third party involved? Several relatives of the victims expressed doubts about the police's hypothesis. They insisted that the relationship between Park Yong-chol and Park Yong-soo was amicable, with Park Yong-soo even having supported his cousin financially in his business ventures. Mounting public pressure and the victim's family forced the police to revisit their conclusion. More questions arose. Who had the motive to kill Park Yong-chol? And why did Park Yong-soo's death resemble a staged suicide? Investigators quickly returned to the theory of a contract killing. Park Yong-chol had deep ties to the Yukyeong Foundation, a wealthy but contentious organization controlled by Park Geun-hye's family. An anonymous witness claimed to have overheard Park Yong-chol discussing his intent to expose sensitive information about the Park family, including shady financial dealings and ties to organized crime. This witness speculated that this might have made him a target for elimination. Investigators uncovered that years earlier, Park Yong-chol had been assigned to deal with Shin Dong-wook, Park Jun-ryong's husband. However, the plan failed, and he was subsequently ostracized by those who once trusted him. Within the Park family, disputes over control of the Yukyeong Foundation became the primary source of conflict. The foundation's assets, valued at trillions of won, including real estate and revenue from business operations, became the focus of all three Park siblings. The conflict peaked when Park Ji-man and Park Jun-hye allied to oust Park Jun-ryong for managing the foundation. Park Yong-chol's actions further complicated the situation. He was believed to have gathered evidence of secret transactions and was allegedly planning to reveal them. However, this could have been the reason he was targeted for assassination. His murder occurred while the Park family was striving to protect their image during Park Geun-hye's presidential campaign, fueling suspicion that he knew too much. At the time, Park Geun-hye was running for president, and any scandal could jeopardize her political career. An independent investigative journalist attempted to report on connections between the case and Park Geun-hye's campaign. However, just as the article was about to be published, the journalist received threats. Think carefully before touching something that isn't yours. Political pressure mounted as the case became the center of controversy. Investigators faced pressure from all sides while the secrets behind the case remained shrouded in darkness. This prompted the police to hastily close the case, concluding that Park Yong-soo killed Park Yong-chol in a fit of anger over financial disputes before committing suicide out of guilt. For years, attempts to reopen the case fell into dead ends. Key witnesses either refused to cooperate or died under suspicious circumstances. Among them was a former aide of Park Ji-man, believed to hold crucial information, but who died of a heart attack just before testifying. In 2017, after Moon Jae-in's administration took office, the family of Park Yong-chol filed a request to reopen the investigation. They argued that the previous conclusions lacked basis and demanded justice for their loved ones. During the reinvestigation, investigators found new clues. A recording from a secret witness revealed that political forces had directed the case to be cleaned up before it could damage Park Geun-hye's campaign. Nonetheless, the case made no significant breakthroughs. Political and legal forces obstructed all efforts to uncover the truth. Investigators could only conclude, "We cannot rule out the possibility of staging and cover-ups in this case." The media continued to exert pressure, publicly criticizing the police and judicial agencies for failing to uphold their responsibilities. However, years later, the case remains unresolved. No arrests or formal charges have been made. Questions surrounding the case persist, leaving a stain on South Korea's judicial history. Despite despair, the victim's family continues to fight for the truth. A relative of Park Yong-chol stated, "We will never give up. Justice will be served, no matter how long it takes." This story is far from over. We will keep you updated with the latest information. This video ends here. Thank you for following this gripping story. If you found this video engaging, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next fascinating stories.
Someone is dead. Someone is dead in the police van. The man's terrified scream shattered the quiet atmosphere of Kunming City. He had accidentally uncovered a case that would shock the history of crime in China. At the scene, the brutalized bodies of two police officers, a man and a woman, were discovered. This was a case where the victim's husband was coerced into confessing during an intense 20-day interrogation. The pain he endured was unimaginable and will surely leave you astounded. You are watching a true story. Join us as we uncover dark secrets and thrilling details you've never heard before. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to explore today's story with us. The crime took place in Kunming City, the capital of Yunnan Province, China. This region is famous for its breathtaking mountain ranges and natural beauty, attracting tourists from around the world. Early in the morning on April 22, 1998, a local resident exercising along a road leading to Shilin District discovered an abandoned police minivan on the roadside. Out of curiosity, he looked into the van and found two bloodied individuals inside who appeared to be dead. Terrified, he immediately reported it to the police. The investigative team quickly arrived. At the scene, two bodies, one male and one female, were discovered. Both were in civilian clothes, but their attire was disheveled and untidy. Forensic experts determined that the bodies were already in the early stages of decomposition. Based on skin discoloration, they concluded the victims had been dead for at least 48 hours before being found. Using the ID card found in her pocket, the female victim was identified as Wang Xiaoxiang, a renowned police officer from the Communications Department of the Kunming Public Security Bureau. The male victim was Wang Junbo, Deputy Director of the Shilin District Public Security Bureau, a respected and influential figure in law enforcement. Investigators ruled out robbery as both victims still had their ID cards and cash intact. All initial evidence pointed to either personal revenge or a darker conspiracy. The forensic report revealed shocking details. Both victims had engaged in sexual activity shortly before their deaths. The disheveled state of their clothing supported this conclusion. Wang Xiaoxiang was married to Du Peiyu, a police officer working at a drug rehabilitation center. They lived a happy life with their 4-year-old son. Meanwhile, Wang Junbo, the man found in the van with Wang Xiaoxiang, was the Deputy Director of the Shilin District Public Security Bureau, known for his integrity and talent. The inappropriate relationship between the two and their circumstances raised many questions. Investigators questioned whether this could be a revenge killing motivated by a love affair. Wang Xiaoxian's infidelity with the influential Wang Junbo could have driven someone, especially her husband, Du Peiyu, to murderous rage. Notably, both victims had been shot twice in the heart with precision using a QSS-77 pistol, a service weapon carried by Wang Junbo. However, the gun was missing from the scene. Police theorized that the perpetrator had seized Wang Junbo's pistol and used it to kill both victims. The crime scene showed no signs of robbery. The victims' ID cards, cash, and personal items remained untouched. This reinforced the theory that the motive was personal, not theft. Wang Junbo was not an easy target to subdue. As an award-winning sharpshooter, he was known for his lightning-fast draw. The fact that he was killed without a chance to react suggested that the killer was someone he knew or had used a clever ruse to catch him off guard. The theory of personal revenge gained traction as investigators turned their suspicion toward Du Peiyu, Wang Xiaoxian's husband. As an elite police officer, Du Peiyu not only possessed the skills to use firearms, but also had a strong motive. Could his anger over being betrayed have driven him to kill his wife and close friend? Du Peiyu, born in 1967, was a talented and dedicated police officer. He graduated from the Kunming Police Academy in Yunnan Province, where he formed a close friendship with Wang Junbo and started a romantic relationship with Wang Xiaoxiang, the campus beauty. After graduation, Du Peiyu joined a drug rehabilitation center and quickly rose to become head of a department by the age of 25. In 1994, he married Wang Xiaoxiang, and a year later, they welcomed their first son. The small family lived in a dormitory of the Kunming Public Security Bureau, about 20 kilometers from the drug rehabilitation center where Du Peiyu worked. Without a car, he often stayed overnight at the center's dormitory to accommodate his work schedule. Du Peiyu was a loving husband, but his busy work schedule left him with little time for his family. Most of the household responsibilities fell on Wang Xiaoxiang. Out of care for his wife, he even hired a nanny to help despite their modest income. However, distance slowly crept into their marriage. Wang Xiaoxiang, working in the communications department of the police bureau, often complained about how little she saw her husband. Their busy lives created an invisible gap between them. Wang Xiaoxiang was known for her beauty and intelligence. Her job brought her into frequent contact with senior officers, including the bureau chief, and she was highly valued by her superiors. Meanwhile, Wang, a close friend of Du Peiyu, was a rising star in the police force, known for his sharpshooting skills and exceptional leadership. He had won second place in the National Police Skills Competition and was appointed deputy director of the Shilin District Public Security Bureau at the age of 33. Despite his achievements, Wang Junbo maintained a close relationship with Du Peiyu. He frequently visited Du Peiyu's home and became a confidant to the entire family. However, these visits went beyond friendship. Over time, Wang Xiaoxiang and Wang Junbo developed feelings for each other. Their illicit relationship became the spark for a tragic series of events that no one could have predicted. According to police theories, Du Peiyu discovered his wife's affair. On the night of April 22nd, when he saw Wang Xiaoxiang leave the house, he secretly followed her. He found his wife and his best friend, Wang Junbo, in an intimate act inside Wang Junbo's minivan. Fueled by rage, Du Peiyu stormed toward the van. His loud banging on the door terrified the pair, who frantically tried to put their clothes back on. The confrontation quickly escalated into a physical altercation. In his fury, Du Peiyu seized Wang Junbo's service pistol, a QSS-77, and took control of the situation. Unable to restrain himself, Du Peiyu pulled the trigger. 2 gunshots echoed in the night, ending the lives of both Wang Junbo and Wang Xiaoxiang, who were shot straight in the heart and died on the spot. Based on this theory and his familiarity with the victims, Du Peiyu was summoned for questioning. However, he consistently denied any involvement in the case. He provided detailed accounts of his whereabouts on the day of the incident, but the police were unconvinced. Since Du Peiyu was the head of a detention center, his absence from work would not have aroused suspicion, making his alibi unconvincing to the investigators. To force a confession, the investigation team resorted to coercive interrogation methods. Du Peiyu endured psychological torture for 3 days and nights, including cold water being thrown on him and bright lights shone into his eyes, depriving him of sleep. Each time Du Peiyu declared his innocence, the interrogators intensified their torture. His agonizing screams were drowned out by the sound of table slamming and the cold indifference of his interrogators. Despite the lack of evidence linking Du Peiyu to the crime, the investigation team refused to release him. Pressure from superiors to quickly close the case pushed the situation into a deadlock. A proposal to use a polygraph test on Du Peiyu was made. The results were inconclusive, suggesting he might have lied about some questions. However, the emotional fluctuations during the test were disregarded. Based on these results, the investigation team concluded that Du Peiyu was undoubtedly involved in the crime. They continued to torture and interrogate him for 20 consecutive days to force a confession. Eventually, in a state of exhaustion and despair, Du Peiyu confessed. He claimed he had disassembled the murder weapon and thrown the parts into a river, though he could not specify the location. Although his confession did not match the evidence at the scene, the investigation team used it as the basis for his conviction. The case was publicly announced, declaring that Du Peiyu was the murderer of his wife and best friend. In December 1998, the trial for Du Peiyu on charges of premeditated murder officially began. The courtroom was packed and the tension was palpable. The prosecutor accused Du Peiyu of killing his wife and best friend in a fit of rage after discovering their affair. Additionally, gunpowder residue on the cuffs of Du Peiyu's shirt was presented as critical evidence. The prosecutor argued that he had used Wang Junbo's QSS-77 pistol to shoot both victims. Du Peiyu appeared in court looking frail, his body bearing scars and injuries from the torture he had endured. He accused the police of using violent methods to coerce his confession, forcing him to admit to a crime without substantial evidence. Public opinion began to divide. Some believed Du Peiyu was innocent and a victim of a violent investigation system. However, many still thought he was the murderer due to his clear motive and the evidence at the scene. The presiding judge, under pressure from the case's complexity, declared a temporary adjournment for further investigation. But in October 1999, the High People's Court unexpectedly sentenced Du Peiyu to death, citing sufficient circumstantial evidence. The death sentence was deferred, but for many, Du Peiyu's life was effectively over. He became a symbol of a murderer, despite the lack of direct evidence against him. It seemed the case had reached its conclusion until a shocking event in April 2000 changed everything. A man named Wang Zhenshan and his car mysteriously disappeared. Police launched an investigation and quickly arrested a suspect named Zhang Guoli and his girlfriend. During interrogation, Zhang Guoli confessed to being part of a robbery and murder gang led by former railway policeman Yang Tiandong. Between April 1997 and May 2000, this gang had killed 19 people, injured another, and stolen 20 motor vehicles for profit. Zhang Guoli revealed that among the victims were Wang Junbo and Wang Xiaoxiang. His testimony provided detailed information about how the murders were carried out and how the QSS-77 pistol was taken from Wang Junbo. Most importantly, police recovered the QSS-77 pistol with serial number 1605825, issued to Wang Junbo in the gang's safe. This was the weapon used in the crime. This evidence proved that the gang, not Du Peiyu, was responsible for the murders of Wang Junbo and Wang Xiaoxiang. From this point, the true story of the case began to unfold, vastly different from the original police theory. On the night of April 22, 1998, Yang Tiandong and two accomplices, Zhang Guoli and Han Xiaoguang, drove to the outskirts of Kunming to hunt for prey. Dressed in police uniforms, they carried fake IDs and official documents to execute their plan. At 10 p.m., they spotted a police van parked by the roadside, with a man and woman in the back seat engaged in an intimate act. It was the perfect opportunity to carry out their robbery and murder. Drawing on his experience as a former policeman, Yang Tiandong guided his accomplices in approaching the van. The trio pretended to be an anti-drug and anti-prostitution unit, knocked on the van's window, and demanded to check IDs, flashing their fake police badges for credibility. Caught off guard, Wang Xiaoxiang and Wang Junbo hastily adjusted their clothing. However, Wang Xiaoshan quickly sensed something suspicious in the group's words and actions. Wang Xiaoshan resisted, demanding to call the Public Security Bureau. She grabbed her phone and prepared to call for help, but Zhang Guoli snatched it away. Her resistance angered Yang Tiandong. Yang Tiandong seized the QSS-77 pistol from Wang Junbo and fired 2 fatal shots into the chests of both victims. After the murders, Yang's gang hastily wiped the scene, stole valuables from the van, including the QSS-77 pistol, and rearranged the bodies in the front seats to mislead the police. To strengthen their alibi, the trio agreed to meet at a motel near the border the next morning. There, they pledged silence about the incident and planned to use the stolen goods to fund future crimes. The cold-blooded actions of Yang's gang were not only heinous, but meticulously calculated, making it difficult for the police to connect the initial clues. On July 11, 2000, after years of wrongful imprisonment and brutal torture, Dupayu appeared at the High People's Court, haggard and covered in scars. The audience in the courtroom fell silent, awaiting the final verdict. The court declared Dupayu innocent, affirming he had no involvement in the murders. The verdict was based on new evidence and the confessions of the real culprits. Dupayu broke down in tears in the courtroom. He was acquitted and released immediately. This caused a public outcry, with many criticizing the investigative authorities for their negligence and abuse of power. This failure had destroyed an innocent man's life. On August 3, 2001, the officers who directly tortured and coerced confessions from Dupayu, including a former political commissar and the head of the criminal investigation team at the Kunming Public Security Bureau, were brought to trial. The court sentenced them to suspended prison terms of 1 to 2 years for negligence in investigation and serious human rights violations. The light sentences failed to appease public anger. According to forensic examinations, Dupayu suffered severe physical and mental trauma. The scars covering his body were stark evidence of the brutal torture he endured. Worse still, Dupayu was diagnosed with mild brain atrophy in the temporal lobe caused by head injuries, leaving him with difficulties in work and daily life. After years of suffering, the compensation awarded to Dupayu was a mere 30,000 yuan. This paltry sum could never make up for the pain he had endured. Nevertheless, Dupayu decided to return to work at the Drug Rehabilitation Center. He chose to continue serving society despite his unhealed wounds. Dupayu's story became a costly lesson for China's judicial system, serving as a reminder of the responsibilities and ethics required of law enforcement. This concludes the video. Thank you for following this gripping story. If you found this video intriguing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more fascinating stories.